Well, good morning, Vietnam. I was just watching, I'm finished, last night we picked up Ken Burns again, and it was 1968. And so I'm kind of bursting like a ripe grape with it this morning. So this, as we go into Ken Burns, we're going into a open wound in our American collective mind or our culture. You know, we really fail to understand what culture is, or big mind, or the collective. We are conditioned by culture to sense that we're outside of it. We're even conditioned to believe that we're outside of the reality, that we're outside of the cosmos. Kind of like the old Yahweh in Genesis, where he's outside of creation, and he creates creation like a potter creates a pot. And he looks at it and spins it around and says, oh, well, there's this a couple of flaws here. This human being has a flaw in it. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw him in the trash and start over. Maybe not. And then, of course, when Noah came along, he was going to throw it in the trash. Say, forget about it. But then Noah said, wait, there's one good pot here. Model the world after this good pot, which is me. So he says, okay, I'll keep you. I'll throw the rest away. See, so it's kind of like we're conditioned to believe our sense of self is outside of creation, even outside of myself. This is what started my spiritual path, my quest, my search for the Holy Grail, for God, for truth, for the way, was this terrible sense of separation from myself. I could never be here. I was always judging myself. You could do better than that. You're not going to be a success. Sorry, Charlie, you're not going to the tuna factory. Or you get a little more cooking to do in that oven. Yes, you're not quite ready yet. Not quite ready for prime time. That was going on in my head. That's separation. And I think we all have a little bit of that. We have a lot of it or a little bit, but there's always a little bit there. And that little bit there is culture. That little bit there is the split in our minds that culture creates. The day we're born, we're separated from our mother by the hospital. Instead of a natural birth, where we're born in warmth and love and immediately put on the mother's breast, and we open our eyes and we see the mother's face. That's the first thing we see. And studies show that triggers awareness, that mother's face is already, the DNA of the baby is imprinted and ready for that. So that face is what connects it to the external, to its new womb. That face connects it to its new relationship with reality in itself, and then the brain begins to form and grow, because the baby's brain grows outside of the womb. It takes all the way to adolescence, to 21 years old, before the brain is fully developed. So it needs the right imprints, it needs the right face, it needs the right environment that responds to its needs, so that the baby grows naturally in an expanding universe of exploration. But this separation begins right away. The first experience we have in the industrial medical complex is abandonment. The baby's snatched out of the womb, stuck in a crib, and all it sees are faces with masks on it. And then after the crucial moment is passed, the baby is brought into the mother. Things are improving, but it used to be very it was an intervention of the medical hospital into the birthing process and separating the child from the mother. And it was all done because the hospital knows best. The hospital knows better than nature. Hospital, and no breastfeeding. Oh, don't do that. We've got milk now that's better than breast milk. And besides that, it's a pain, breastfeeding, you can, let this bottle. You don't have to breastfeed and be hampered by that child, you see. So breastfeeding, no. And then, if you have a little problem, a cesarean. We'll just bypass the whole birthing process. So this intervention. And then the mother's all drugged up, so she can't, the natural relationship in the birthing process is all broken from get-go. So there's this abandonment at the beginning, and the child is switched to culture. Now culture is the mother. Now this is not to say that culture is some malevolent devil. It's just the way cultures are. That's what they do. Cultures are like a mental organism that we all feed into and build. So we are culture. Culture is us. It's not like culture is like we're not participating in it. We're co-creators in culture. That's very evident now with the internet culture because we're all creating it. Our interaction with internet culture creates it. We're co-creating it. And it's fun and we love it. It's so different from the passive culture we've been enculturated in, which is you can't do anything to culture, you can't change it. It's like TV. You just watch what's given. You can't change the TV show. Now, tweet in. Enough people tweet in, they'll change it. Enough people tweet in, you change the government. You change the corporation. People power. We're discovering that. That's brand new. This is a new phenomenon. This is groundbreaking. People changing culture instead of being the passive consumer of culture. Advertising brainwashing us. Advertising making us buy stuff we don't need. Believing we need it. Political advertising making us elect somebody who's incompetent. Culture manipulating us. I'm tired of it, we say. Get on that thing. I start, public. This is something that's changing. People power through the internet. And so culture, we're discovering, can be manipulated through a will of the people, which is now unionized. This is the new union. The new union is the people power through social media. More powerful than the ACLU, you see. So people power, the union of the people, can kill a corporation, can make the corporation raise its wages. We're discovering that. Whoa, this is pretty good. We're checking it out, you see. But anyway, let's get back to the idea I had this morning, which I'm digressing from, but that's okay. The Great Wound of 1968. So last night we looked at 1968, and I've forgotten so much because I was teaching high school in 1968. I'd forgotten the Tet Offensive. I hadn't forgotten the assassinations of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy. I hadn't forgotten the Democratic Convention. That's what's coming tonight, I think. But I've forgotten the power of the Tet Offensive, which, while the Vietnamese didn't win the Tet Offensive, which, if you recall, was when they had planned to attack all the major posts and cities all at once on the lunar celebration of Tet, expecting the Vietnamese people to rise up and throw the invaders out. Well, they attacked all the cities, held some like Hue for a month. But the Vietnamese people didn't rise up. and the Americans and their allies, the South Vietnamese, killed them, chased them out. So there was a reevaluation on North Vietnam. Well, now that didn't work like we thought. However, it did work in that there was a turning point in America because the imagery, the visuals coming from Vietnam were telling the people that this is not working like they're telling us it is. This war, we're not winning this war. Who are we fighting for? What's going on? What's going on? Is Big Daddy culture lying to us? Is our parent lying to us? You see, culture is a parent. And culture imprints, I guess Freud may call it the superego, but culture imprints in us as a inner parent telling us what to do so it can conform to culture and be a good little boy. What will people think? I know my wife grew up here in Blackstone, and when I first came here in 1981, temporarily, which turned into permanent, then we were living in her mother's house, which is this house here, and I was coming from India, where I'd been living with my guru's ashram in Ganeshpuri, and I was going to come here and be a yoga teacher, and my guru was my center, and I had pictures of him, and so I got here and I put a picture of him on the wall, and my mother-in-law saw that and says, "Boy, you can't put that up here. What will people think? What would culture think?" So I had a hit. Uh-oh. I'm not in Kansas anymore. And I had I can't be who I am here. I have to go underground. I have to build a cover and build a secret interior. I can't be out. So, ironically, it's really been all these years, since 1981 to 2017, that I have been comfortable being out. So I can talk about Swami Muktananda. I've got pictures up on the wall if I want. I don't have any right now, but if I wanted to, I could put them up. I have Buddhas sitting around, which is just as bad as Swami Muktananda had a Christian come here with the Bible to beat the Buddha out of me. So, literally, sat right here with her Bible, berated us for an hour, trying to beat the Buddha out. And so I told her, she said, "Can I come back?" And I said, "No." She said, "What?" I said, "No, you can come back if you leave your agenda at the front door, but you can't come back in here with your agenda." And she said, "Oh, well, maybe I won't come back." And so then I gave her a little, I had some little teeny Buddhas, and they were sitting over here. And I said, "Here, I would like to give you something." "Oh," and she held her hand, I put a little Buddha on it. She goes, "What?" She almost ran out the door. So, what will people think? You see, get back in line. Don't doubt culture. Oh, culture gives you some variations inside culture. You can be this or that, but don't doubt the culture. Don't doubt the parent. You're going to get spanked, you see. So culture gives you a little playground in there, and you can have this issue or that, and you can be against that and be for this, and you can have little schoolyard fights, and you can have your playground and your amusements, you see, and you can have your little roller coaster ride, and you can have all that, but do not doubt culture itself. That is the cardinal sin. And that's what happened in 1968. The parent was lying to us. We're not winning this war. We're being sacrificed to an unjust war. We're being called into battle to die. for an unjust cause. I'm not going. I refuse to go. I refuse to stand up to the Pledge of... I remember in high school, I was teaching there, and some of the kids refused to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance in protest. I think it was after JFK was killed. It was a crazy time. And I remember I smoked pot for the first time. And I remember, of course, up to that time, it was kind of like, pot's bad. Pot culture says pot's bad, pot's bad, pot's bad. So I smoked it. Whoa, this is good. This isn't bad. So right there, as I remember back about that, I remember the awakening of the disbelief of the lie. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad. You do it. Wait, it's good. They're wrong. But it's not an intellectual good, it's a feeling good. It feels good. Now, I'm not getting into, this is not about pot. It's about the contrast between the head and the heart. The head, which has got its little cultural imprint, its little cultural box in there saying, what will people think? Do this, do that. You see, obey culture, believe in culture, believe the parent. Believe the parent, you see. This is what keeps culture going. Culture requires that its members believe culture is reality. Culture requires that everybody sacrifice yourself to culture. Culture would not exist without sacrifice and total belief. And you can see this Russian nesting doll going all the way down to subcultures, which require your belief and your sacrifice. So a culture is a semantic language energy field, which is an abstraction of reality. And when there is a conflict or contrast between the language field, what culture tells us is true, and what we feel is true, we have a wound. We have an existential conflict between what my heart says is true, which is basically feeling the ground, feeling the goodness of the ground, and the mind, culturized mind, saying, oh, that is bad. Wait a minute. You say it's bad, but it feels good. What the hell is going on? Who do I trust? My heart? My head? So this creates a split, a gap, an abyss between the culturized head, which is my ego, my sense of self, you see. That little sense of self that I believe is me is a cultural creation. It's a cultural microcosm of the macrocosm. It's a mirror reflection. Culture and the ego is a mirror reflection of each other. But this only works if you believe you're separate from it. Culture only works if you believe you are separate from it. So you can judge it and say, oh yeah, it's this or that. But see, but that's not the disbelief in culture itself. That's just arguing within culture, which is what we do. Very few people drop out of culture while they're still in it. See, that's the thing is that, doggone it, I forgot to push my little timer. I wish you would remind me. And when I start this talk, would you please remind me to turn on my timer? So, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So we're talking about the great wound of 1968, and I'm putting it in the context of parent, culture, and child. And the creating of a double bind. Is the parent true or is the parent wrong? I don't know. A good example of the first split in the child's mind is the split in the two imperatives of a child. Now, the two imperatives of a child is, I must explore. Because when I explore, and the child's world is the house. So I must explore the house in order to create my brain that creates the world in which I exist. So exploring creates my brain, my mind brain. I have to do it. So the mother puts a new figurine on the table, and the child says, oh, explore. So it goes to touch it, taste it, feel it, explore what it is, and the mother sees that. Stop! No! Right there. Contradiction. The child's got two commandments. Obey the parent. I've got to do that in order to live in this culture. I've got to find out where the tigers are and not go step out, not walk out in the street. I got to explore. Explore. Obey the parent. Explore. Obey the parent. So the child then threads the needle and does both, because he can't do one or the other. They both have to be obeyed. You have to explore. You have to obey. What do I do? What do I do? So he does both. So he looks at the mother and he goes for the figurine. Now the mother gets really pissed, or the father. You directly disobeyed me. Oh, wow. You see, you sinned. You disobeyed me. But the child was obeying you. I'm looking at you, but I have to obey my heart and explore. I have to do that because I can't be split. I can't split between the parent, the culture, and my ground, my reality, my own, my heart, my brain, my being. See, being and mind. Culture becomes a mind shaper, but being shapes your total reality. I have to explore. That's what humans do. I have to explore. Even baby animals do it. But I have to obey. So when the mother, the culture, is out of sync with exploration, you have a wound. You have a yes, no, I don't know what to do. Oh, I can't do that. It's lose, lose. Now I'm split in myself. I don't trust myself. Should I touch it or should I not? Where's mommy? Mommy's inside. Daddy's inside. It's culture. So I can't explore and be whole because culture inside, parent inside, it says, don't do that. Don't question. Don't explore the unknown. Stay within the known. Stay inside culture where it's safe. Don't doubt the president. Don't doubt culture. Don't doubt reality. Don't doubt your little ego. Stay in there. What will people think? You see. So this all blew apart in 1968. And the children said, the parent culture's lying to us. This is a phony war, an unjust war. I'm not going to die for it. And so half the children said, it's your duty to die for the war. The other half said, it's not my duty to die for the war. It's my duty to trust myself and my own conscience. And the other half says, no, it's your duty to trust the parent, the culture conscience. If the culture conscience says, go to war and die, that's your duty. You can't doubt that. Obey the parent. But then my heart, my being says, what is this? I got to explore it. I don't think this war is just, you see. That's what I see. That's what I see. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Don't obey your feelings, obey me. Obey your thinking. That's who I am. I'm thinking, says culture. But I'm feeling, says my heart. What should I do? Well, there you have the great wound of 1968. And it's still continuing today. So the black football player takes a knee to protest the truth that black people are getting killed by the police. But the parent culture says they're not getting killed by police. They're bringing it on themselves. And the other one says, well, I see them all the time. They're getting shot for nothing. They're just sitting in the car trying to obey the rules and they get shot. Doesn't feel right. Well, you don't believe your feelings. For God's sakes, believe culture. The police are your protectors. Believe culture. But I gotta believe my heart. And can you see this is still going on? So now, even to right now, they took a knee. They're not patriotic. They're not obeying the parent. But I feel like I must do something. I feel like I must speak out. I feel like I gotta come out. I gotta come out with the heart. Don't come out with the heart, I'll spank you. Don't touch that little thing on the coffee table, I'll beat you. Don't explore. Get in line. Know your place. Culture needs you to do that, you see. Thanks for dropping in.